Azure Power Lunch. As you know that we have these recording that we put on YouTube channel. So if you don't want to participate in it, you can drop off now. Second thing is that anything that I say in these calls are my personal opinion and not of my employer. So with that, let's start with the topic of discussion, which is a couple of Azure Compute updates. Before we jump into those, I want to mention that next week, this is Microsoft Premier Conference, Microsoft Ignite, it where we unveil a number of features about where we are heading in terms of cloud, AI, app modernization, infrastructure, modernizing your infrastructure. So please, look at the announcements, and you don't have to kind of pay anything. You can watch all of these keynotes virtually, and that's what I'm planning to do as well. So, and hopefully, in the next session, we will cover some of the highlights from the Ignite, some of the themes. So, we will do that as well, hopefully, in the next session or later sessions as well. Okay. So, with that, agenda. So, we're going to be talking about two things. Number one, public preview of the ability to share capacity reservation group. We're going to look at some of the use cases, benefits. As you know that so far reservations, you cannot, you can only use reservation from the subscription where you created them. But this, with this capability, which is just gone into public preview, you can share them across subscription. We will take a look at that. Second piece is vCore customization, which allows you it is kind of a two features in there, which allows you, number one, to use a thread per core, and change the number of vCPUs. And we also take a look at some of the key benefits and use cases. So with that, let's move on to the first topic, which is the uh, capacity reservation group. So, as you know, when you create a capacity reservation, your goal is that you have this reserve capacity that you're going to be using for a workload. At this moment, for that, you need a subscription, location, number of uh, uh, VMs, and the number of SKUs and the type, or number of instances and the type of SKU, like what type of VM SKU do you need. Um, the one of the big asks from the customer was that they were requesting, like somehow they need to be able to share it with other subscription. And finally, this is now available as a part of this feature. This is in public preview, and you can take advantage of it. And what this feature brings in, let's take a look at each benefit, use case, and benefit. So first of all, let's say that you have a active passive scenario, and you have capacity reservation on both active side and passive side. Active side, that reservation I'm sure is being used. You have spun up machines, they are running, you are using that capacity. Wonderful. On the passive side, you have that capacity in the case you have to do a failover, but that capacity is there at this moment idle. You're paying for it, but it's not being used. With this feature, let's say there is another subscription, which is a non-prod subscription. You can bring it in, and it can start taking advantage of that capacity for testing, for other use cases, maybe. Or you may have certain workloads which are like they are living in different subscription. One workload is using capacity during a certain time of day, another workload need capacity at a certain time of day. Instead of making two reservation, you can share that reservation between these two subscription. Okay, so that's one advantage, is that reuse. The second one is you have the ability to manage it centrally. How? You use one subscription for creating all the um, a set of subscription to create all of the um, capacity reservations. Okay, and then other subscription comes in which they want to use it. You assign it to them, and they start using that capacity reservation. You share it with them basically, and the key thing here is that once you do that, you still have centralized control. You know, okay, how much capacity you have, how much is utilized, how much is there. So you can kind of better get an idea like what you can do with the rest of the capacity. Do you need to give it for dev test scenario, things like that. So with that, once you have the centralized management and reuse, you start saving cost. Okay, so cost optimization comes out of it. So basically, now you can basically have a more better control of the cost with the reuse of resources. And finally, since you have this capacity there, you can and in you have the control over the capacity. You can better have better security controls over it and separate out using the capacity from the how you secure that capacity reservation. So separation of concerns. So that's some of the key things that you get out of this particular feature. As I said, this is in public preview and you can take advantage of it. And let's talk about the model. So first of all, the subscription that creates that reservation is called a provider. Okay, and the subscription that wanna use that or you wanna share with those subscription, they are called consumers. You can have up to 100 consumers. Okay, at this moment with the current public preview. Okay, and there is a certain protocol to it. First of all, the owner of the subscription, which is consumer, has to make this subscription ability to share, so it can accept the share. And then the owner of the provider basically includes that consumer subscription as a part of share. So it says, okay, yeah, I'm gonna share my capacity with that, and that's not enough. The admin of the provider has to give access to the admin of the VM who want to deploy or use that capacity access as well to that particular um, reservation group. Okay, so as I said, three things. First of all, consumer has to be ready to share. Number two, provider admin has to include that subscription as one of the shares, as one of the designated consumers. Number three, the admin of the VM or the basically the admin of the provider has to give VM access or admin of the VM and use that CRG. And once they do it, you can do it from the UI as well. Once you do it, you can basically, once creating the VM either from the PowerShell or from CLI or from the portal, you can use that particular CRG and deploy that VM. Any questions, folks? So pretty straightforward so far. There's nothing, but that's a very powerful feature. Think of it, that now you have the ability to kind of deploy this stuff and have a capacity reservation and share it with other subscription. Just keep in mind location, SKU, and SKU type still has to be the same. Okay, that doesn't change it, but your subscription can change. Before it was subscription as well. Okay, number two, portal support for creation of the CRG is not there at this moment. You know, but you can or sharing of the CRG is not there. But later on, when you're deploying a VM, you can basically deploy it to a CRG. Like a capacity reservation group or shared CRG. So that support is there. So partial is there. You can use the API or CLI for creation of the CRG shareable shared CRG kind of thing. Okay. Second part is there can be only be 100 consumer subscription for a single provider. We don't know, that may or may change based on the feedback from the public preview. At this moment, it is 100. Okay. The last one that is not the zone outages, during zone outages. So that's during zone outages, VM SSD provisioning is not supported. So that may or may not impact your use case. Just keep that in mind. Okay. Any questions on this? So let's move on to the next topic, which is the customization. This is a very powerful feature, vCore customization. So let's talk about why this. I mean, what this feature brings to table. So let's talk about a use case. Let's say that you have a workload that is running on Azure, and that needs the entire core on its disposal. Okay, it needs one thread, not it doesn't need hyper threading. It has to use single thread, one thread per core. Okay, so that's how you can do that. Now this feature allow you to do it. Basically, at the time of creation or later on, you can say use one thread per core. There are certain workloads like HPC, graphic workloads that needs this. So that's where you can take advantage of this feature. By the way, this feature is in limited public preview. It's only available in certain region. Limited public preview means you have to sign up for it, and then they will enable your subscription. Okay, so sorry for distraction. You can set up the vCPU counts. Okay, why do you do that? Let's take a look. So let's say that you have a virtual machine that you have deployed a software on. You have license for only 4 vCPUs. Okay, but this machine has 8 vCPUs. You need the memory, you need the disk space, but you can go with 4 vCPUs only because that's what licensing you have. How do you do that? Now, what you can do is you can change the vCPU of the VM. So instead of 8 core, it will basically become a 4 core, a 4 vCPU VM. Okay. So that's also if you're bringing your, bring your own license for a third party, and let's say that you had 16 vCPU licenses, you already have deployed like a 4 core machine, an 8 core machine. Now only you have 4 cores left, and you have spun up a VM because you need more RAM and disk space. So that's where this thing is very powerful, where you can basically bring down the number of vCPU that you need to comply with your licensing. Okay, so or let's say you have licenses, but you only need to use 4 licenses to save cost. That's it. Cost optimization. That can also, for like SQL Server, SAP, Oracle, that definitely can be a scenario where you want to save cost. You don't want to, use all the vCPUs. You may have, don't want to, may have other use cases for that. So you want to use the same VM, but you don't want to use all the vCPUs in that VM. What you can do is you can tailor the VM resource to match your requirement, mean vCPUs. Okay. Um, First of all, as I said, this is available through Portal during VM creation. You can use CLI, PowerShell, ARM templates. Only certain regions are supported, as you can see. Okay? So you cannot deploy it in multiple, other than these regions. Just keep in mind, when I say limited public preview, it means that you have to sign up for it. So there is a URL in the end. When you click on this URL, it will take you to a office form where you give your subscription name and your some description about the use case, and that's where you sign up. Okay. And once they enable it, they will let you know, hey, we enable your subscription, and you can start testing, deploying in these regions. And basically what you will see is once you select a VM size, if your subscription is enabled, and number one, number two, if you are in one of the region which is allow listed, like West Central, North Europe, East US, or UK South, what's going to happen is you're going to see two more options underneath the size. One, how many threads per core. So you can pick, okay, yeah, I need just one thread per core. Second, how many vCPUs that you need. So let's say there are 8 vCPUs. You can bring it down to 4 CPUs or whatever number you want to put in there. Okay. So that's that. At this moment, only first party OS images are supported. Okay. No third party images. We will see um, once we go beyond the preview. Okay. Any questions, folks? Okay, so now let's talk about some of the considerations. Number one, hyperthreading or disabling of hyperthreading only works if the hyperthreading is enabled in the first place. Okay, so if that is there, then you can disable it. Otherwise, you understand there is no point of, so otherwise you will get an error. So if a VM is using hyperthreading, then you can see one core. Otherwise, there is no point. Number one. Number two, for the vCPU count, you cannot increase the vCPU count. So like it's not like you have a 4 core VM, okay, let me make it 8 core VM, 4 vCPU VM. Let me make it a 8 vCPU VM. No, you cannot do that. It's only down. So as I said, you have an 8 vCPU VM, and you need to bring it down to 4 vCPUs. That's what you are able to do with this feature. You cannot increase it, you can only decrease it. I mean, that makes sense. Oh, by the way, one very important point, and just keep that in mind. You will still be charged for the entire vCPU. So, for example, you are charged $180 a month for a 8 vCPU VM, and you reduced it down to 4 vCPU. You will still be charged $180. Okay, so VM cost will not change. It's your licensing cost that may get impacted. vCPU or VM cost will not change. Very important to keep in mind. Okay, then you can do both. You can disable hyperthreading and reduce VPU simultaneously. Both rules can work together. There's no requirement having one or the other. Oh, one thing to remember, you can enable these rules at the creation time. No issues. You can do it. Wonderful. And if you try to change it after the VM creation, just keep in mind that it will cause a deallocation and reallocation of a VM. So there will be a downtime. Basically, it will restart the VM and there will be a downtime. So you just be aware of that. Okay. And if you, so anytime you're changing it, try to do it at a downtime or try to do it at a time when you can take an outage. Okay, if you try to do it like, oh, let me do it in a busy hour, then that will be a bad idea. Okay. One other thing is that if you try to resize the VM, let's say that you went from 8 core to 16 core VM because of some reason you want to use a bigger memory, bigger disk space, and you have set the VM to 4 vCPU. It will still be using 4 vCPU, though you have 16 vCPU in that VM. So that will not change. But on the other hand, if you try to downsize it or doing something which is incompatible, that operation will fail. Okay, that will not work. I mean, kind of common sense. I mean, if you, let's say you set up for 6 vCPU for an 8 vCPU VM, then you try to move to 4 vCPU, that operation will fail. Okay, so and once that thing goes into general public preview or broader public preview, I think we will take a look at it again and see a demo of it. Um, I'm sorry, I don't have a demo for it since I applied for it myself, but I haven't been allow listed yet. So hopefully at some stage we will see a demo of it when it's preview. Any questions, folks? So just a quick recap. Today we talked about two of the uh, feature updates in regards to compute. One is the ability to share capacity reservation group across subscription. Okay, this feature was is in public preview. It's a general public preview. You can take advantage of today. It allows you to share resources, have a centralized control, and thus save cost. Okay, and do cost optimization. Second feature that we talked about, which is in limited public preview, is vCore customization, and there are two sub features underneath it. One that allows you to control how many threads you have per core, and you can go to one core, one thread per core for certain application that require that they want to use the entire core. Okay, and second feature is which allows you to control how many vCPUs for licensing purposes or your VM can use. So, for example, you're running a software where you are bringing bought vCPU licenses. You can control the cost by changing the vCPU. So, for example, the VM has 8 vCPU, you want to only use 4 vCPU license cost, you can change that using this parameter. So there are two features, sub features, as I said. One to control the um, the threading per core, and the second one for the vCPU count. With that, here are some kind of a resources. Any questions, folks? I know we have 6 more minutes, so any questions? Okay, yeah, this is, I have some links here, and if you want to use and by the way, as always, the link to this presentation will be in the description of our YouTube video. You're familiar with the YouTube channel. If not, just search for it on YouTube. You will find it, and you can get that there. So, last call, any questions, comments, feedback? Thank you, folks. Thank you for putting up with me. I have a really bad cold, so hopefully we see everybody in next session and have a great rest of your day and a great weekend.